No dad is prepared for the moment their child's life ends, whether it's in a silent delivery room, a hospital bed years later, or perhaps a phone call in the middle of the night. As a dad, the world expects you to absorb it, hold it together, and move on. And here's what nobody tells you: you can't grieve your way out of grief, but you can give it somewhere safe to go. For 20 years, I carried my son's death in silence. I thought that was strength, but I was wrong. What finally shifted everything for me wasn't therapy, it wasn't a support group, and it wasn't time. It was finding a quiet way to put words to what I've been carrying without the pressure, without the performance, and without falling apart. Now, if you're watching this, you might be carrying something similar. You look fine. You go back to work. People say you're strong. But inside, you're exhausted in a way, sleep doesn't fix. And if you feel this video is for you, then by the end of the video, I will show you what that quiet way forward looks like. Here's what no one tells you when you lose a child, whether they're a baby, a teenager, or an adult. Everyone asks about your wife or partner. Everyone checks on her, and they should. She's grieving too. She's the one who carried your child for all those months. You want her to get all the support she needs. That's not even a question, actually. The question is, what about you? You're expected to be steady, strong, and functional. So you go back to work. You show up for the other kids if you have them. You keep the house running. And inside, you're carrying a grief that has nowhere safe to land. Now, you're not asking for pity. You're not competing for attention. You're just asking to be acknowledged as a father who's lost a child too. But that acknowledgement, it rarely comes. So you do what you think you're supposed to do. You stay quiet, you stay busy, and you stay strong. And here's what starts happening on the inside. You feel guilt and ask yourself questions like, did I do enough? Could I have saved them? You may feel shame. Why am I not coping better? Other dads seem to be fine who go through the same thing. You may feel fear. If I open this door, you may ask yourself, will I ever be able to close it again? And underneath all of that, there's this quiet, aching question. Am I allowed to grieve? Or is it my job just to hold everyone else together? Let me tell you what that looks like for me. It was on April 27th, 2005. My son Hashim was born sleeping. I stood in that delivery room knowing there would be no cry, but nothing prepares you for that silence. I left holding only to a memory. And for the next 20 years, I carried a weight no one could see. After he was born, I threw myself into work. I had a busy business that ran 24 hours a day, and the night shift became my hiding place. I didn't have to think about the empty room at home. I didn't have to sit with that in silence. Work made me look like I was coping, but really, I was running away from myself. My car became the only place where I could really let go. With the engine off, parked down a quiet street, I allowed my tears finally to fall when no one could see them. That tin can of a space was where I grieved, in secret, in small, hidden moments. And at home, my wife and I drifted. Not because we didn't love each other, we did. But unspoken grief builds its own walls, one unshared moment at a time. I thought I was protecting her by staying quiet. I thought if I kept it together, she could fall apart safely. But what I didn't see was this. Silence doesn't protect anyone. It just creates distance. And that distance, over time, cost me my marriage. For years, I felt stuck in this impossible choice. Be the supporter, the strong one, the steady one, the silent one, or be the griever, open, vulnerable, and honest. I thought I had to choose, And here's the deeper truth beneath that. I believed that if I let myself grieve, I was failing as a father and a husband. That's the internal struggle we dads go through. But there's also something bigger, something that feels unjust. Why should a father's love cost him his voice? Why should caring deeply for your child mean you have to disappear as a person, as a man? Why is grief for mothers openly acknowledged while grief for fathers is quietly ignored? That's the philosophical, societal problem. And it shouldn't be that way. You shouldn't have to choose between being a supporter and being a griever. You can be both, and you can hold space for her grief and your own. But first, somebody has to hold space for you. Here's what happens if you keep doing what you're doing. If you keep staying quiet, staying busy, staying strong, your grief doesn't go away. It waits. It resurfaces months later, sometimes years later, as it did for me. And when it does, it often shows up as anger that feels it's come from nowhere. It shows up as detachment from your partner and your living kids. It could show up as exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. And it could show up as a sense that you're just going through the motions from day to day. The reality is, the relationship with your partner, it drifts. You love each other, but you're living in the same house, sleeping in the same bed, and feel miles apart. And your child's memory, instead of feeling like something sacred you can hold, it becomes a weight that crushes you. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's just a slow erosion burning a hole in you. And the thing is, it happens to good men, strong men, loving men like you and me. Not because you and I don't care, but because there's no safe place to put down the grief gently. So, what changed for me? Well, it wasn't a big moment. It wasn't a breakthrough in therapy or a conversation that fixed everything. It was something much quieter. I started finding old scraps of paper, notes I had written in the early days after Hashim's death, rough, messy thoughts I'd put down when the pain was still sharp. I hadn't followed any plan. I just wrote because there was nowhere else for my love to go. And when I read those words again, almost 20 years later, something clicked. My son's death was my deepest loss, but his short time here was also a gift. He had given me a truth I no longer could ignore. Grief doesn't go away when you bury it. It waits for a voice. That's when I realized I didn't need to talk about it out loud. I didn't need to perform emotions in front of others. I just needed a quiet, structured way to put words into what I was carrying. Here's what started to shift when I gave my grief that space. And I need to be really honest with you, it was 20 years later. And sadly, my marriage didn't survive. But it wasn't entirely because of the loss of our son. There were other things. But silence and the distance we built, that played a central, crucial part in the split. But even decades later, here's what I learned that was possible. The weight for me became lighter. It didn't go away, but it was easier to carry because it was no longer stuck in my chest with nowhere to go. My son's memory became something I could honor. Instead of avoiding his name or his memories, I learned to speak about him with love, not just pain. I discovered I could reconnect, not with my first wife, but with myself and eventually with my current wife, who also lost a son in a similar way. We talk openly about our children. We hold a space for each other's grief. And that's taught me connection is still possible even after loss, even after years of silence. I also realized I wasn't broken. I was grieving. And grief isn't a flaw. It's proof of my love for my boy. I learned to be both, the steady one and the grieving father. I didn't have to choose anymore between being a supporter and being a griever. That's what becomes possible when you give your grief somewhere safe to land, even if it takes years to find that place. So, if this sounds like where you are right now, I want to offer you 2 small things you can try tonight. The first one is write 1 sentence to your child. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be messy. Just 1 sentence. Something like, I miss you, or I'm trying, or I wish I could have told you I loved you one more time. Whatever comes out, write it down. Fold it away. Keep it somewhere safe. What you've just created and done is love finding a voice. The second thing I'd like you to do is name 1 thing your grief is asking for. Maybe it's asking for rest. Maybe it's asking for someone to just listen. Maybe it's asking for permission to stop being strong, just for 5 minutes. Name it. You don't have to solve it all tonight. Just name it. And what you have just done through this second thing is take the first small step. Now, if you want to go a little deeper, if you're ready for a structured, gentle way to put words to your grief, come and spend a moment with me. I recorded a 15-minute conversation where we sit down together, just like 2 dads on a park bench, and I walk you through the following. Number 1, why your grief feels invisible and why that's not your fault. Number 2, what happens if nothing changes? The slow drift, the hidden costs. We'll talk about that. And number 3, how a few simple prompts can give your grief a safe place to land. Something similar to what we've just done. Now, there's no selling, there's no pressure, just an honest 15-minute park bench conversation. I've dropped the link in the description below where you can share your name and email address. You can watch it whenever you're ready, and you could do it when there's no one at home and when all's quiet on the home front. You can do it whenever you like and in whatever way you feel that works for you. And here's the thing, you don't have to carry this alone anymore. And before you go, I'd like to say one last thing. Your love as a father didn't end when your child's life did. It's still here, and it deserves a voice. So I'd like you to take care of yourself, my friend. And if I can help, I'm here for you.